When my wife walked out, it felt as though the ground had been pulled from beneath me. We had been married for 4 years, and while our days weren't free of hardship, I believed our love was strong enough to endure. I worked tirelessly, often taking on 2 jobs just to cover our bills and keep food on the table. Then one day, she looked me straight in the eyes, cold, detached, and said she could no longer endure a life tied to poverty. Without a second thought, she packed her belongings and left. I pleaded with her, but she told me she deserved better. That moment left me shattered, humiliated, and questioning my worth. For months I lived in silence, haunted by her words. At night I would lie awake, picturing her laughing in the arms of another man, a man who could give her what I could not. But instead of letting despair consume me, I decided to channel the pain into something greater. I refused to be defined by her rejection. Slowly, things began to shift. A business partner took a chance on me, and together we built something solid. Opportunities came, money followed, and along with it came respect and stability. 2 years later, when I received a wedding invitation in the mail, I almost laughed. It was from her. She was marrying a wealthy man and had the audacity to send me an invitation. Maybe she wanted me to feel small again. Maybe she wanted to show me what I had lost. At first, I considered tossing aside, but then I realized this was my chance. Not for vengeance in the ugly sense, but to prove to myself and to her that I was no longer the man she had abandoned. On her wedding day, I arrived in a finely tailored suit, stepping out of a car that drew glances the moment it pulled up. The whispers began as soon as I entered the hall. Old acquaintances who had once pitied me as her struggling husband now stared in disbelief. I carried myself with quiet assurance, greeting influential guests, people who had become part of my world. When she finally noticed me, her confident smile faltered, her eyes widening in disbelief before panic flickered across her face. Later, she came over, her voice shaky. "You came," she said, almost breathless. I gave her a calm smile. Of course, I wouldn't miss such a significant day. Her groom caught the uneasy tension, but she quickly tried to mask it. I made no effort to show anger or resentment. I didn't need to. Simply being there was enough. During dinner, a few guests asked about my work. I spoke of my company, my travels, the projects I had been leading. I didn't exaggerate or brag. I simply told the truth. People listened with admiration. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw envy darken hers. Even her new husband shifted uncomfortably, as if realizing she might still carry regrets. At one point, she pulled me aside. "Why didn't you tell me you'd succeed?" she whispered. I let out a quiet laugh. "Because real love shouldn't hinge on money," I replied. "But you taught me that lesson the hard way." She had no answer. Her eyes shimmered with unspoken words, but I felt no sympathy anymore. I had long since outgrown that pain. The rest of the evening, I enjoyed myself. I laughed, I danced, I left with my head held high. I hadn't gone there to ruin her day or cause a spectacle. I went to show her, without words, that leaving me had been her greatest mistake. She had traded loyalty for luxury, and in the end, she lost both. When I drove away from the wedding, I never looked back. My revenge wasn't about bitterness. It was about living better, thriving in ways she never believed I could. She would continue her new life, but she would always carry the memory of what she had thrown away. That night, for the first time in years, I slept in peace. I finally understood that revenge doesn't always have to be cruel or loud. Sometimes the sweetest victory is simply proving through the life you build that the people who doubted you were wrong. She left me because I was poor. She invited me to her wedding, expecting to mock me. Instead, she ended up witnessing the life she could have had, and that alone was enough.